Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of the Chickenboxx. I'm your host, Jay Jackson. I'm solo this week. However, we have a great interview today with Anthony L. Jenkins, who is the current president of Coppin State University. He's the 8th president in their long storied history. They're coming up on their 125th year anniversary, and so they have a gala that's coming up in just a couple of weeks. On this episode, we're going to talk to Anthony about Coppin's expansion on their programs, new and old, their enrollment increases, the ways that they're innovating their school to make them one of the top HBCUs in the country. So without further ado, Dr. Jenkins. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for having me on your show. And how are you doing?
I'm doing very well. So the big reason that we're here, as we talked about a little bit in your intro, is that Coppin is coming up on its 125th year, and you guys are having a big gala October 18th of this year. This is a huge milestone for the college. Obviously, if you are if you've been living in Baltimore for 9 seconds, you know Coppin State University. So you are the 8th president of Coppin, and you happen to be there during this momentous time. What are your general feelings on this? I mean, this is huge. Most colleges don't sadly get to this point, really.
You're absolutely correct, and I am excited. Our entire campus has been buzzing all year. We started 2025 off walking into our 125th year of nurturing potential and transforming lives. And that's what Coppin has been doing since 1900. What started off as in the basement of a local high school, which was a one-room preparatory teacher program. Fast forward today is a university that is a leader in urban higher education. We have nationally ranked academic programs. U.S. News and World Report ranked us the 27th best HBCU in the nation. Students are coming to us from 40 states, the District of Columbia, 32 countries. We have renowned faculty. We are in a place where there's a lot to celebrate here at Coppin. And I'm honored to serve as president at this point in time because my 7 predecessors just did an incredible job of making sure that the university remained relevant and that beacon of hope for so many, not only just here in Baltimore, but from around the world.
Excellent. Now, do you, 125 years, what have you guys seen as far as growth of the school? I mean, like you said, it's almost like, it's like a wild story of like a one-room school, starting all the way to this point. It's like storybook type of stuff. What kind of growth have you guys seen? I mean,
Jay, we've seen growth across every metric of the institution. This year we brought in over 1,000 undergraduate students. We received nearly 18,000 applications this past year for enrollment into Coppin. 18,000 students said, I want a piece of, or I want to be a part of that Coppin experience. Unfortunately, we didn't have room for all 18,000, but we brought in over 1,000. Our freshman cohort increased from fall 24 to this current fall by 60%. Our transfer students increased by 30%. And we've grown our university every year by no less than 5% growth since 2021. I arrived in 2020 in the midst of everything. And so we have been building off the legacy and history of this great institution over the past 5 years of my administration. And some of the milestones that we've accomplished is not only historic enrollment growth of the university, we've also reached historic retention rates. This year, we're at 75%. That's the highest in the history of the institution. When I arrived, we were only at 52% retention rate. And so we've been able to make significant milestones in a short period of time. We've also grown the university endowment by 63%. We've increased research by over 1,200%. We've increased corporate partnerships. We have expanded our academic portfolio, bringing on a cybersecurity engineering program, a data science program. We have seen more of our alums give and come back to the institution. And so there are so many incredible milestones that we've hit over the last 5 years. And I always say, keep in mind, we were also doing that inside of a global pandemic. So I'm extremely proud of what we've been able to accomplish here at the university. Our future is bright, but as of right now, we are punching way above our weight.
Hey, that's okay. Like, it's not a bad place to be, right? What do you contribute that growth to? I mean, like you said, you're doing this. You came on sort of in the middle of the pandemic. Lucky you, I guess. That's a rough time to start that job. Like, here, best of luck. Trial by fire sort of situation.
That's right.
But what do you attribute that level of growth to? I mean, that's a lot of, that's a lot of expansion, not only in the student base, but just general interest in the school. So what do you think? Are there things that you can point to and go, well, this thing happened and maybe that's a cascade effect, or what do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. And, I didn't even mention our capital projects. We brought on a new College of Business. We have done hundreds of millions in renovations and upgrades across campus. We created our new Eagle Achievement Center, which led to our 75% retention rate. We have a new residence hall, a 350-bed new residence hall that's coming online. That will be ready fall 26. But when I arrived, directly to your question, I said that our pace would be brisk and our trajectory will be north. And we started looking at the university holistically. We started looking at what we were doing well and some things that we could improve on. And many of the things that we could improve on were around telling our narrative and developing our story, and better marketing, better promotion of the institution, of our students, of our faculty, of the Coppin culture. What does it mean to be a part of our community of scholars? We started being more intrusive about building partnerships with guidance counselors and various high schools across Baltimore City, across the great state of Maryland, and across our nation. And then we also created an Expand Eagle Nation program. This program I designed to give students in-state tuition if they were coming from a state that had 2 or fewer HBCUs.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
So what we heard was that more students wanted that HBCU education. They wanted that HBCU experience. But if they were coming to us from out of state, they had to pay out of state tuition. Mm-hmm. So when I started looking at data, I said, wait a minute. These students are running out of money by the time they get to their junior year. So they aren't finishing. And the out of state tuition was too high. So I said, if we're going to stretch their financial aid, and if we're going to increase the probability of them staying with us and graduating, then we have to reduce the cost for our out-of-state students. And so I put together an actual proposal that I got the state legislators to buy in, and the University System of Maryland also signed off on. And then we went and we were campaigning in various states. California, Colorado, New York, and New Jersey, Philadelphia. We've been hitting all of those important areas, and the students and their families have responded overwhelmingly. Our out-of-state student population when I arrived was just at about 200 plus students. Today, thanks in part to our Expanding Eagle Nation program, our out-of-state students is north of 700 students. And so we've also seen more of those students finish and graduate and not run into the completion challenges that we had saw previously.
That is incredibly interesting. So if the states that these students are coming from has 2 or less HBCUs, then they only have to pay in-state tuition costs.
Yes, sir. They pay the same tuition as a resident of the state of Maryland. And that saves them so much money. It also reduces the amount of loan money, Jay, that they have to take out. So we are reducing loan debt. We are increasing retention and expanding access and opportunity. And that's what this program is designed to do. Now, because I was doing that with out-of-state students, I had to make sure I was doing more for my in-state students too. And so we have expanded our scholarships across the board here at Coppin, really focusing on our in-state students. So as the most affordable 4-year university in the state, because that's what Coppin State University is, we're the most affordable 4-year college or university in the state of Maryland. We then administer tens of millions of dollars in scholarships to drive that cost down even more. So finances are never a reason that a student doesn't earn their degree from Coppin.
Excellent. I mean, there is such a hurdle that happens when young people are looking at colleges, right? And I think, obviously finances have always been an issue, with affording college and sort of making it, sort of democratizing it is probably the best way I can say it. So this idea that you're just looking this up quickly, there are 7 states in the United States that have 2 or fewer HBCUs in them. So like you've given an opportunity to those 7 states of kids who would likely just like, I cannot afford to go to this other, to these other schools, which is amazing.
Now, Jay, there are more than 7.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yes. So when you start looking at California, when you look at Washington State, when you look at Nevada, when you look at Utah, when you look at South Dakota, North Dakota, when you look at Arizona, when you look at New York, when you look at Philadelphia, when you look at when you look at Rhode Island, you look at Maine, you look at all of these places. Mm-hmm. When you look at Indiana, when you look at these places, they're all coming. I have students right now from 40 different states, the District of Columbia, 32 countries, and we've also included the actual territories. So when you look at Puerto Rico, when you look at all of these other places, right, there is a wealth of opportunity out there. And so the students have responded, their families have responded, and it is great to see so much diversity and multiculturalism on our campus.
Yeah. I mean, I remember we had interviewed someone, this is maybe a year ago or so, and they were talking about HBCUs, and I just something I had never heard someone say before, which I thought was just fascinating. This idea that the idea of HBCUs, as we think about it, sort of in the modern time, is like these are black schools, right? Like that's just what people think, right? And it's a obviously very narrow viewpoint, but like the idea of an HBCU fundamentally fulfills the promise of America, right? Which is that anybody, no matter what you look like or, color, creed, or background, you have an opportunity to go get an education. Obviously finance in this case matters, but for so long, minorities and even poor white people could not afford to get to this level. Sure. And here HBCUs, as much as they, there's so much like weird derision around and stuff like that is said by people who don't know. That is the American promise, right? So I feel like HBCUs don't get the credit that they truly deserve.
Listen, Jay, you're a batting 1,000 as usual. Listen, HBCUs, when Brown versus the Board of Education came down, they didn't have to force HBCUs to integrate. Right. We have always been welcoming. We have always had open doors, right? So that wasn't for us. We've always had diversity at our institutions. In fact, when you look at the actual history of HBCUs, there have been white presidents of HBCUs. There have been white people who have come in and donated land and helped with financing to help create some of these important institutions. And let's be clear. There would be no African-American middle class in this nation if not for HBCUs. So when I hear people say, oh, I was unaware of HBCUs or I don't know much about HBCUs, I give them a little pass, but large in part, people know who we are. People know what we're about, and they don't want to talk about us. They don't want to talk about our impact. They don't want to talk about our value. And that's why I am very clear when I tell people all the time, we are historically Black. We're not exclusively Black. See,
right. And I think that's such a powerful distinction, because I think so many people have that, like, historically and forever.
That's right.
That is not the story at all. I mean,
not at all.
And I want to dig back into what's going on, especially about some declining enrollment, because I really want to get your thoughts on this. But one thing I remember reading recently that I just thought was incredibly powerful: 70% of Black medical doctors in the United States have their medical degrees from HBCUs.
HBCU.
Like if you're like, I need to find a Black doctor, I want a doctor who looks like me, looks like my kids. Yeah, that's probably an HBCU grad. And that, to me, it's like there is no conversation after that about the importance of these schools. It's just unbelievable.
Listen, Jay, again, you are knocking it out of the park. 70% of doctors, north of 80% of judges and lawyers, 40% of Black or brown folks who sit in Congress went to an HBCU, right? I mean, Black engineers, north of 70% there. The list goes on and on and on. So when corporations and folks tell me we don't know where to go and find talented Black and brown individuals, right? That conversation falls off the cliff as far as I'm concerned, because I can point you to 100 institutions who can make sure that you have diverse talent and multicultural talent to help elevate your organization. And so that's what I am, that's one of the many things that I'm so proud about, not only here at Coppin, but just HBCUs across the board. And we're going to continue to be at the forefront of shaping this narrative about higher education and where our country goes. And if I could, one of the important pieces for us is a emphasis that we've put on male enrollment.
Yes.
We have been very intrusive. We've been very intentional about increasing male enrollment here at Coppin State. And so when you look at the national data, male enrollment in this nation has been declining since the late 70s with regards to higher education. And HBCUs have taken a significant decline over those years. And that's for multiple reasons. When the NCAA got involved and there was an expansion of integration in sports, and that took a lot of Black athletes from HBCUs to historically white institutions. When job opportunities opened up that I could go and do this as opposed to going to a four-year institution, all of those things diluted the male enrollment across the board, across all races: Black, white, Asian, Hispanic. At Coppin, we've seen our male enrollment grow since 2021 to present date at over 54%. When sister HBCUs in the state of Maryland and other institutions are seeing double-digit declines, we're not seeing that at Coppin State. And I am extremely proud at my team for going out and making the case for more men of color to see that this is a pathway that can get me to where I want to get to, that can enhance the quality of my life. And as I tell folks, we didn't do it by expanding sports, right? We didn't increase roster sizes on our athletic teams. What we're focusing on is helping our young men understand that you don't have to run the 40 in 2 seconds. You don't have to be able to jump 70 feet off the ground, right? We know that you are an intelligent individual that's a thought leader and a scholar that we're going to help shape and mold. And that's how we've been really approaching our efforts. And the young men have been responding positively. And that's why we've been able to see so much growth in that area. And then last thing I will say on that is in 2022, 2023, the nation's male retention rate in college was about 68%. It fluctuated between 67 and 68%. During that same time frame at Coppin State University, our retention of males was 77%. So we've been rewriting the narrative and bucking national trends on this and so many other very important educational factors for a long time.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, just looking here, there are roughly 1 million fewer men enrolled in college since 2011 to
right.
present date, right? I mean, that is, I mean, I know people are like, oh, there are more women in college, but I think people just hear that, but they don't realize like that is because there are also less men, right? It's like, yes, it's incredibly positive that there are more women, joining, graduating and stuff like that. I think that's wonderful. Like sisters doing it for themselves. I love that. But like, we can't just let, we just can't let men just fall off the cliff at the same time too. Sure. We gotta raise both. To know that you were seeing roughly a 10 to 15% higher retention rate than the national average, again, I think speaks to a lot of great work at Coppin. So you're saying that you're not expanding sports and things like that, which I think is an important distinction, right? Because I think a lot of people just go, yeah, well, if you just have bigger, football teams or whatever, of course, because that's all Black men like to do. Like, obviously, that's this sort of insane logic. What are there degrees and things like that you have found that have been sort of newly expanded that, like you've got a lot of, young men are like, that's what I want to do. Right. Like, so that like, finally you guys are speaking to what we want to do. Like what are those things that you guys are expanding on that's working?
Again, excellent question. So when we looked at our data over the last 5 years, what we've seen is that our male growth also coincides with certain majors. The number one is sports management.
Okay, fair enough.
Then
that's funny. That's my nephew's major too. So.
There you go. See, there you go. Then you have data science, and then this one to me was very surprising in a way that I'm like, yes, we need more men in this area, and that's nursing.
Yes, absolutely.
So we have seen more males going into nursing, which is great. And then the other, we saw criminal justice, and then we saw business management. Those were the top majors that we've seen more males here at Coppin go into.
Interesting. And look, I love the idea of using sort of well, you guys all love sports. It's like, cool. No, but we're going to manage the teams. Like we don't have to be on the field, but we're going to make it happen the other way. And that's okay. That's great. Excellent.
And to your point, that's a part of what we've been talking about over the last 5 years is having our students develop this entrepreneurial mindset across campus, not just in our College of Business, but in psychology and criminal justice and in the arts. That young student who is the art major one day may want to open up their own studio. That's entrepreneurship.
Right.
That student who leaves us and go and get a law degree may want to open up their own law firm, or the psychology student may want to open up psychology practice. That's entrepreneurship. So we have expanded that concept across every discipline here at the university.
Excellent. Yeah, I really think that people sort of need to understand that you do also have to speak to the students, right? It can't just be, we got English as a major, we got, business management. It's like, that's all we got. It's like, well, life is changing. Things are moving quickly. And there is that, I'm glad you spoke to the entrepreneurial aspect of it. There is that sort of, especially with young folks now, it's like, everybody's got to have a business. You got to have a side hustle or whatever. It's like, it helps when you have an education to do these things, right? You can't just learn this like on TikTok. You got to actually know the skills so you can get out there and really compete and do something really quite special and leave your mark.
Yeah, and we have partnerships with folks like Truist and JP Morgan Chase and Charles Schwab and all of these folks. But we also want our students to understand, hey, entrepreneurship is hard.
Yeah.
This is not easy. right? You don't go to bed on Monday and wake up Thursday and you are Jay-Z. No, that's not how it works. Okay. Most small businesses, again, you are really grinding this thing for some time. And because you're not in a position to bring on a lot of personnel to help you, that's your baby from sun up to sundown. And that could be for years. So you don't get to go on the 2-week vacation and the business keeps running if that's not how you're staffed. Sometimes you have to work those weekends and those long hours and things like that. And if you're not there, sometimes revenue is not coming in. And if revenue is not coming in, the business can't survive. So we try and talk to them, not from a place of fear or paranoia, or from reality. This is what it's like. Now, once you get there, I mean, this thing can take off like the, space shuttle, but understanding it's going to take a lot of planning and hard work and commitment to get it off the ground and move from vision to reality to where you even get people to want to invest in your business. And so that's where we bring in the experts and folks who have created startups. We have a wonderful Center for Entrepreneurship here on campus run by Dr. Ron Williams, where we work with our students and we work with companies throughout Baltimore and the state of Maryland. And we've helped several businesses get started. We've helped several businesses strengthen their actual foundation. And so that's a part of the whole process in education as well.
Excellent. Now, coming up on 125 years, I got to ask, because this is like the most college thing of all time. How do you get these alumni to buy back in? You said you're seeing an increase in activity from the alumni, right? I mean, everybody who's gone to college knows you see that number, call and be like, hey, have you donated? It's like, this is your alumni calling, right? Some people pick up, some people try to avoid it. I understand. But how do you get them to buy back in? Because clearly, if you're expanding your campus and things like that, there has to be some buy-in from your alumni to go out there and be your sort of, to be your kind of white knights out there, like telling people about the school and stuff like that, and also contributing back. How do you get those people to come back and do the work as well?
Yes, sir. Listen, you what you just said is very important. So it's about pride, it's about buy-in, and it's about results. And the other piece that's very important is it's about experience. Mm-hmm. And so you can't, well, let me say this. I would encourage folks when it comes to cultivating relationships with their alums, if they've not engaged their alumni for some time, when you do engage them, the first letter or call they get should not be "give me money."
Yeah, I think a lot of colleges, that's the default.
That's going to find either that letter in file 13 real quick, or the phone being hung up, or even more, discussed with the institution. What the approach that we've taken here at Coppin is that we've raised the visibility, the marketing, the success, and the pride of the institution. That elevates your alums to say, wow, look at my alma mater. Look at them. They are doing things that I had never seen them do. They have a narrative and a story that they're telling about the university that I've never heard told in that way. And so that generates pride. And then you also want to tap in and make sure their experience when they were here was a good experience. Because if my experience was horrible, you're not getting a check from me. I don't care what you do or what you say.
Right, exactly.
Right?
Absolutely.
I have to leave with some affinity for the institution, that my faculty were outstanding, that my experience was outstanding, that I built lifelong friendships, that homecoming was incredible. Those things that they leave here and they say, hey, I'm in a place where I got a better quality of life because of this institution. So we started doing those things, and we started pulling in our alums to say, hey, tell us what we need to be doing better. Where have we fallen short? And then I started going around and talking to various alums and to, meeting them in different places and really laying out what our vision was for the university and how they fit into that vision and how it could not be accomplished without them. And those things culminated in a stronger National Alumni Association. I also challenged our National Alumni Association to develop national chapters beyond Maryland, beyond Virginia. So we're going out in California. We have chapters started. We're down in Florida, in North Carolina, and Atlanta, because you can find an eagle anywhere. And
Right.
so we are building chapters, and the pride right now in Coppin is at an all-time high. That bleeds into our 125th anniversary year celebration, but also our third annual Blue and Gold Gala.
Okay, so perfect segue. You teed it up. Excellent. Thank you. Tell us about what is the Blue and Gold Gala? What are the activities around the 125th celebration in general?
Yeah, so for this whole year, we have been celebrating. It kicked off with my State of the University address in February. We have had ribbon cuttings. We've had building namings. We'll be closing out our $25 million capital campaign, which is the largest campaign in the history of the institution. And so we are closing in on that $25 million mark. We have been celebrating our students. We have our Fannie Jackson Coppin and I Love Coppin Week celebrations that are taking place. Convocation was also special this year. We have an annual golf classic that we ramped up, and it was incredible. Raising over $100,000 on our golf classic, and our gala is the final bookend for the 125th, and it is a spectacular night of elegance, food, dance, students, alumni, faculty. The business community is Baltimore coming out to shine with Baltimore's hometown university. And so we will likely have north of 600 Eagle supporters who are going to be out with us. We have a wonderful event. It is a top-notch gala. I have heard people leave and say, this is the best gala I've been to. And I've been going to galas, their words, not mine. They've been going to galas for 10, 15, 20 years. And so I have an incredible team. They do an incredible job. But it is really a night of celebration about Coppin and everyone who's helped us elevate to this top level.
Excellent. So I have to say, I think this is amazing. I'm really happy for you guys.
Thank
Again,
you.
125 years is nothing to sneeze at. It really is.
It is not.
I do want to ask maybe a little bit of a rough question.
Please.
With things that are going on, as far as, the sort of the U.S. government and politics in general and things like that, there seems to be an attitude about funding colleges and universities that are even remotely tied to, minorities at all. Is this a thing that is on your radar? I'm sure that it is. I shouldn't even say it like that, but I'm sure that it is. How are you guys preparing in case things get a little crazy? Because I know government funding was extremely high for HBCUs under the Biden administration. And I don't know what is going to happen with that going forward and what have you. How are you guys sort of shoring up the boats, so to speak, to make sure that Coppin and other HBCUs, I wonder, are what they are doing to keep themselves okay here?
No, thank you. That's an excellent question and a very important question. And I'll talk very quickly about the state and the federal level. So here in the state of Maryland, Coppin has all of our institutions within the university system of Maryland have seen budget reductions. Over the last 3 years, we've seen a 11% budget reduction to our state appropriation funds. That's to our base budget. That's money that we don't get back.
Sure.
I'm proud to say that because we've been very, very good fiscal stewards of our resources, that Coppin, with that 11% budget cut, did not face some of the same horrific decisions that many of our sister HBCUs and PWIs across the state are having to face. We have not reduced any academic programs. We've not had to do any furloughs. We've not laid folks off, and other institutions are having to take those very harsh actions. we've been very fortunate because we've been watching our resources and using them in a much different way that really supports Coppin. On the federal level, the Trump administration is looking to pump more money, so they say, into HBCUs. But this last round of conversations, that funding is coming at the sake of minority serving institutions, MSIs.
Right.
Now, there's a difference between MSIs and HBCUs. HBCUs are written within the Higher Education Reauthorization Act of 1964. We are in law. So we can never lose our designation as an HBCU unless they open up that law and then rewrite it. A MSI only has to have a certain percentage of minority students that is educating to reach that MSI threshold. They can lose their status as an MSI if that percentage of minority students drop. So typically it's about 25% of your total population has to be of a minority group. If so, then you're designated as an MSI. So the Trump administration has recently announced they're taking $500 million away from the MSIs, and they're going to redirect that to the HBCUs. Okay, on its face, that sounds good. I take issue with that because this is what, in my opinion, it creates. It creates turmoil between institutions who are all committed to educating people of color. Even if you
creates division between those two groups.
Higher. Right. So now you create animosity between the two groups. Mm-hmm. And so $500 million that you're taking from the MSIs to give to the HBCUs is not a lot of money when you're talking 100 HBCUs. Right. So exactly. Everybody, $5 million everybody gets or something like that. Right. So I am not of the opinion that that's the way we should be funding HBCUs by taking money away from sister institutions. So that to me is very perplexing. The other thing is that
I think you nail what the answer probably already is. I think it is. I think it's
as I've told my team, and I was just talking to my campus earlier today. The HBCUs need to be careful not to rejoice over this act of support, with the understanding that with it, there's going to be something wanted in return.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
And then what also happens, in my opinion, is because you create this wedge between the MSIs and the HBCUs. So the narrative, in my opinion, goes something like this. I said I was going to destroy the privates, and I'm going after Harvard and Dartmouth and Columbia and all of these institutions, and I've got them to bend the knee. Now I'm going to go after the MSIs, and I'm going to take care of them. Who do you think is next?
Exactly.
And so if we don't stand in solidarity and not get bamboozled over a couple of $1 million, then when it's our turn, the MSIs and everyone else are going to say, well, y'all didn't help us.
Right.
So I hope you enjoy your little $5 million and good luck to you. And that's what I don't want to see, right? I don't want to see this creative infighting within the landscape of higher education. That's problematic for me. Some others may feel differently, but I'm just giving you Anthony's opinion.
I look, to borrow your words, you hit the nail on the head, right? Like that, that's exactly right. I mean, to stoke fighting in between other groups is a divide and conquer situation. And I mean, when I saw that story about the MSIs having their funding, I'm kind of like, yeah, this does not feel like what the title is saying, right? There is something underneath this. And you're right.
Jay, if you want to give the HBCUs $500 million, I'm sure Doge cut $500 million from somewhere else. Right. So let the MSIs keep their $500 million. You go give me some of that $500 million that Doge cut from your quote unquote government fat, and we can deal with it that way, right? So that's Anthony's standpoint. And I just see that that's the writing on the wall. And I don't like it. And then very quickly, the other thing is that we've also been hit with, we've lost federal grants. We had a grant which funded our Center for Inclusive Excellence, which focused on getting more Black and brown men into the K through 12 system. And that institute, that center that we had, was tapped as a national model. Other institutions from different states were coming to us saying, hey, we want to learn about what you're doing, because nationally, less than 2% of all teachers are Black males. And when you look here in Baltimore City, it drops down to 1%. And we know there are ramifications that when you don't have Black males in the classroom, you have higher disciplinary matters, you have higher suspensions outside of school and in-school suspensions. You have lower success rates for males. You have lower high school completion rates and lower college going rates. And so this one piece, even though $3.4 million that they took from us may not seem like a big amount to anybody else, it was the bigger implication of this center is no longer funded. So therefore, we can't do the work of getting more males in front of the classroom, which then has implications on completions, college going rates, jail going rates, and all those other things. And so that's where we have been impacted. And we did take a hit. We did lose a couple of employees who were funded by that grant, and we got no notice that the grant was ending. From a formal standpoint, other than I think it was like 24 hours. But we knew it was coming and we were trying to get ready for it. So that's the way Coppin has been impacted with some of the moves at the federal and state level over the last few months.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I often think about when did I first have a Black male teacher? It was 10th grade.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, for some people, it's never. And,
That's right.
And that to me is wild. But I'm glad that you guys were at least doing that program. Hopefully you'll be able to bring that back. I think that's a powerful point.
Thank you.
And then I think at the same time you had mentioned that your nursing program has seen an increase in male students there. Yes. And it's the same thing. Like, you want to have more Black men in these positions because, the idea of Black men taking care of people and Black men being educators and things like this, they have cascading effects. You're absolutely right. So,
yes, sir.
So, I mean, what is it? I think nationally it's something like 65 to 70% of teachers are white women, just across the entire nation. And it's like, that's fine. Good for them. No worries. Right. But it should be diverse. Kids should be able to see people who look like them. Right. So, I think it's an incredibly powerful point.
And to your point, Jay, and I won't belabor this too much. We've had that conversation. So I'm having the conversation with folks. And to your point, you said, listen, 70% of teachers are, white, either white, female, and so on and so forth. And I say, okay, great. What my one of my good friends, his wife is a teacher and so forth. And we have these robust conversations, back and forth. But as I'm telling folks, then if 70% of the teachers are white, female, or let's just say white, then that's who we have put as the gatekeepers for our students' success.
Right.
And everybody is not always an honest broker.
Correct.
Everybody does not always come from a place of authenticity. So if they're leaving it to these teachers to educate a young Anthony and inspire him and tell him where he can go and how much he can do and how much potential he has and so on and so forth. Some of them are going to do that. Many are not. Right. And as my friend and his wife and I have a conversation, and I tell her all the time, I said, listen, here's the other important piece is my two beautiful Black daughters, they learn about their culture in high school or in elementary school for the first time as being enslaved people.
Right.
I said, your sons learn about their culture as being the founders, inventors, presidents, right? All of these wonderful things. Right. And my daughter's first introduction is you were enslaved. And oh yeah, over the next 4 years or 5 years, we're going to throw in a Martin Luther King, a Harriet Tubman, and a Frederick Douglass, and you should be good now.
Yeah, that's it. Like,
you should be good.
Right.
So
you get slavery, MLK, Obama, you're welcome. Right.
So that's why it is so important that diversity at that early stage, because we know that achievement gap starts to open between 3rd and 5th grade. Correct. and it never closes for so many young people of color.
Excellent. All right. Well, look, we could stay on here for a long time and talk about education and Black folks. Trust me. I got, my wife is an educator as well. We could just be like, start taking notes. But what I do want to do is I do want to, at this point, I want to go to what we always do, which is our, get on the box and leave folks with what you want them to take away from this conversation and going forward. Right. I'll go first and I'll let you end it. Listen, I think that this is a very spirited conversation that we had. Not an argument, but a spirited conversation. And I think HBCUs have a powerful history in the United States. And I think a lot of people may not know quite what that history is, right? And like I said earlier, HBCUs are actually fulfilling that promise of sort of American higher education, quite literally. And I think it's powerful what they're doing at Coppin. I love that your numbers are all, like you said, going northward. I think that's great. Even the issues of like male enrollment that are falling nationwide, you guys are seeing the rise of these numbers in powerful positions like nursing and things like that, which I think is going forward can be exponentially helpful for Black men to be seen as educators or healthcare providers and things like that. So I love what you guys are doing. 125 years, and you guys are still moving forward. Congratulations! I think it's really great. So
thank you, sir.
You are on the box now.
Listen, I'm on the box. What I want to say is I want to say bigger is not always better. Coppin State University is a small university in West Baltimore. We offer our students a large university experience. If you want to do groundbreaking research, if you want to work in centers of excellence, if you want to be in nationally ranked academic programs, if you want to be in an environment that really prepares you to be on a global stage, because we are a multicultural campus, if you want to be at a place that knows and understands the value and the impact of transforming you from student to scholar, Coppin is that institution for you. Sometimes students get hung up on big names and bigger schools, and I've worked at the biggest. I've worked at the largest university in this nation. So when I say it, I can say it. I stand on it. Bigger is not always better. I challenge folks to do their homework and understand what is the right fit, what's the right location, what's the right culture, what's the right environment for you. And so I look forward to continuing to do even more great things on my time here at Coppin State University as president. But check us out, visit our website. We'll be coming to a state and a city near you because I have an incredible admissions team. But that's my, get on the box. Bigger is not always better. And let me say this last piece because I have to give them a shout out. My athletic teams are incredible. We lead the MEAC with the highest student athlete graduation rate. So if you know all the schools in the MEAC, we have the highest graduation rate of student athletes, and we're at 89%. That's better than Howard. That's better than Morgan. That's better than North Carolina Central. That's better than Norfolk. That's better than the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. That's better than Delaware State. And that's better than South Carolina State. So institutions understand that when it comes to Coppin, we're competitive on the field of competition, but we really hang our hat is in the classroom. And I'm going to get off the box with that.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Anthony Jenkins, president of Coppin State University, and we'll see you guys next time.